Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. It's Thursday night, and that means it's DRS. This is round 2 of season 10, and that we're at the circuit Paul Ricard. Obviously a circuit that was on the F1 calendar for quite some time, then fell off the F1 calendar in favor of Magny-Cours. And then for quite some time there was no French Grand Prix. This track was used mostly as a test facility. Then it got its major update, got its FIA Grade 1 status, and returned to the calendar. In fact, this track has 5 FIA Grade 1 layouts. And it has a further 2 FIA Grade 2 layouts. Total of 7 possible layouts to the circuit, 5 of them usable for F1. One thing they have done around Paul Ricard, I think many will forget, maybe the first time, maybe the second time, but I think it was only the first time Paul Ricard featured on the game, that pit entry was in a terrible place. Luckily they have fixed that since. Because we have 13 runners in the field. This is Q1. Unlike the other 2 leagues we stream on this channel, DRS runs a full qualifying session. So if we had a full grid, we would be losing 5 drivers at the end of this session. We don't have a full grid, we just got the 13 drivers, so nobody would fall out at the end of Q1. So the drivers aren't under that same amount of pressure. I'm gonna just get a few extra laps under your belt. You can do that, don't have to be too worried about the lap time. But when Q2 comes around, you want to be well rehearsed in that fast lap. You don't want to be one of the 3 cars to fall out. Obviously more drivers may still be able to squeeze into qualifying, that remains to be seen. Now I have a few cars out on outlaps. I think the only one on a quick lap is the Ferrari. Everybody else with outlap next to their names. So just having a look at tyre selection, Boinky Saint-Super choosing to use the medium compound. Obviously that's teammates, the 2 teammates choosing a interesting strategy, maybe just wanting to lay some rubber down, maybe just really just get a lap time, go through to Q2, save a set of softs for later, you might need them. Good evening to Panda. Good evening to Hanko, Maurice, Akmagozi, everyone in the comment section, everybody who hasn't commented yet, and I don't know if you're here. Let me know if you're here. I think this was the first man over the line for a timed lap, but that lap appears to be in the red. I think that's invalidated. Very easy to invalidate on this circuit. You'd think not. Extremely wide, but with all that runoff, with all that tarmac on the outside, get tempted to use a little too much of it. And track limits at this circuit can be quite a challenge. Ariamondi, one of the 2 Aston Martins, is on his first timed lap. Still just the 13 cars, we'll keep our eyes on that list, see if anybody's able to squeeze in. Still 13 minutes. Obviously once we start Q2, then nobody else will be able to squeeze in. They'll still be able to get into the lobby and start the race. They'll be starting from the back of the field. Van Rietveld over the line, takes the provisional pole, goes purple. It's a 1:30.5. Next best is a 31.1. Quite a difference there on the front row. Ariamondi over the line, 31.1. Still a big difference, 0.6 of a second. Cover the front row. Boinkies up into P4. But look at that. That suggests there is a lot more time. Boinkies 1:31.8. It's on a set of mediums. It's going quicker than some of the soft runners. Shane into provisional pole 1:30.3. We edge closer to the 1:29s. And now Arno Koos over the line. He goes 1 minute 30.3. Oh, so close to provisional pole. We said that front row was separated by 0.6. Well, now it's separated by 500. If that's just the first run and nobody's pushing to the ultimate, well, that was quite impressive. Still a lot of drivers yet to set a lap time. Of course, everyone will go through regardless. If we were back in the 90s, no lap time, no race. If you didn't qualify, well, you didn't race. In the game, obviously it works that way, and we have seen examples of it in F1 where drivers cannot partake in qualifying because the car was too badly damaged in practice, and yet they still get the chance to race. Zuber went with that same strategy as his teammate, went out on the medium tyre. His teammate was able to put the car up now into P6. He's lost a few positions, 31.8, but he's going to get a lot more once he puts the softs on. Zuber, no lap time from him. I wonder if he may have invalidated that first run. The two Alfa Romeos remain. No, they don't. They're on outlaps. Still no lap times for the two Alfa Romeos. No lap time for Nick Gishin, Kurbis, all of those cars on outlaps. Namassassin is 1:54, so that's not a representative lap. It's currently in P9, slowest of the timed drivers. Shane went fastest and retired from the session, so he's had enough, saving up tyres for Q2. No reason to go out there. Then the next four drivers remain in the pits. The next best is Zuber. He's just gone up into P6 on those mediums. He's just gone a little faster than his teammate. Look at that, 1:31.7 versus 1:31.8. Two teammates separated by nothing, but crucially those Williams are on a set of medium tyres. And for now they're in the midfield. Still four drivers yet to set lap times. One of them is Kurbis. He's on an outlap, just getting out of the way for the faster cars behind. This is Levy. He's left it a little bit later than everyone else. Wait to see what he can come up with. We saw him go quickest in Sector 1. He set a purple Sector 1. So let's see what he can do now with Sector 2. Ready. No lap time. His teammate, same scenario, both of those Alfa Romeos out on track. Kurbis still busy with an outlap. He's just started a quick lap. Gishin also out there. Back relatively quiet because a few of the guys already comfortable with their lap times. They have retired. Some of them will stay out there till the end. Use every bit of the session they can. I switched away from Levy at a free-fall time. Did he set a lap time? No, he didn't. Yes, he did. There we go. 131.8. I was expecting a little more. We saw purple in sector 1. Expecting a little more. 130.2. We can't quite break into the 129s, but I bet you we will by the end of Q3. Here it's a cool. Goes into provisional pole. And then immediately takes a shortcut. And on a circuit like this, taking a shortcut, well, if you have epilepsy, it's a terrible idea. Nam Assassin 151.4. Nick Gishin is always there. I was gonna say there and thereabouts, but there's nothing there and thereabouts about that. That is mighty fast. First time in the 29s tonight, and it's a mid 29, 29.6. It's not just scraping into the 29s, it's immediately into the mid 29s. Throwing down the gauntlet to the rest of the drivers. They may not respond in this session, really no need to. Just giving everybody an idea of what they're going to need going forward in qualifying. Libby out on track still, went around for another go. Let's say 130.9, goes up into P6. But those softs wouldn't have been in optimal condition. That was his second lap, maybe running a little bit more fuel. That means all of these cars still have much more to offer. But because we've only started with the 13 cars, and it means we have no eliminations from this session, a lot of the guys are retiring. Whether they're happy with their lap or not that happy with their lap, they know it's enough. This is Quibus, currently at the bottom of the timing sheets, the only driver remaining on the track yet to set a lap time. He's going to go over the line any moment now. And he goes up into P6. It's a good lap time of 130.9. But he's 1.3 seconds away from provisional pole. Fantastic lap by Nick Gishin. But obviously those next three drivers, Zero to Cool, Shane and Arno Coast, they came out, set those lap times and retired. So that was just one initial run. And we have no idea how much they were pushing on that lap, how much fuel they had on that lap. Guys know this session isn't about the ultimate pace. Lewis will be happy with that. P6. Where is his teammate? There we go. He was quicker than his teammate. Webber's P6, Ariamondi down in P8. He's also one of those drivers just to set a lap time and retire. Just the 4 drivers remain in the session. One of those drivers out on track. Now becomes 3 drivers. Quibus, Levy and Boinkies. And I was about to say all 3 of those drivers would be in the pits. Has Boinkies left the pits? No, he hasn't. That's it. All 3 drivers in the pits. So we may see somebody go out on one final run. Or we may see everyone retire, and I think it's going to be the latter. Levy the only one left. He will surely retire from the session. And that means we will immediately progress to Q2. There we go, there's your Q2 results. Nick Gishin provisionally on pole so far, 29.6, faster than the rest of the field by half a second. Then Zero to Cool P2, Shane P3, Arno Coast P4, Dan Ritfeld P5, Quibus P6, Levy P7, Ariamondi P8, Rota P9, and then we have Assassin making up the top 10. Zubair and Boinkies 11 and 12, but they use the medium compound, and Patman making up the field in 13th place, and we have no eliminations. Obviously going into Q2, I don't think we're going to see anybody messing around on the medium compound. Everybody needs to set a decent lap time. Don't want to be one of the 3 cars that are going to be eliminated. Remember, we may still have a driver or 2 squeeze in, so if we get more than 13 drivers at the race start, don't be too surprised. Something we've seen all week on this channel has been rain, and I haven't seen any of that. So hopefully for all the DRS drivers that stays away. Somebody going out on track, but there we go, it's the Haas, Dan Ritfeld. It's going to be the first driver out on track. Don't think there's a need to look at the tyre screen. Everybody's going to be on the soft compound. Dan Ritfeld, first man out there. We already have now 4 cars out on track. This is the first one out on track. It's a Haas, Dan Ritfeld. We also have Patman out. This session will be a little bit more important for him. I'm not sure if he just set the lap time and was comfortable with it, or if he struggled in that session. We saw he finished in P13, so doesn't want to do that again in this session. Means he'll be eliminated and start from the back of the field. The guys are going to have to put a little bit more effort into it. We know these guys are quick. This is Patman. Boinkies in the pits. Zero to Cool in the pits. Shane and Rota both on outlaps, as is Nam Assassin. Ariamondi, Zubair and Quibus. Busy racetrack. 5 cars remain in the pits. What comes next? Will we see, give or take, the same order we saw in Q1? Or are we going to see that certain individuals were holding back? But I'm almost certain the quickest thing we'll see is in Q3. That's when everybody shows their cards, because that's the important session. That's where you're going to start the race. Of course, after the first running of the French Grand Prix here at Paul Ricard, there were a lot of calls to remove that chicane on the straight. Lots of fans not enjoying that chicane, and it was actually agreed upon that the chicane would be removed for the second French Grand Prix, but as you all know, the chicane was never removed, and the reason for that was when they went back and looked at some data, the most overtakes in that race were in that chicane, so that's why we're stuck with it. Could have been a very different affair heading down that straight without the chicane. How would you approach that right-hander at the end of things? Be a much faster corner. It'd be a hang on for your life sort of corner. Chicane does break it up a little. Imagine just going straight here. So you have a straight that long, and you just make the whole thing DRS. I'm not entirely sure. You're asking about reserve drivers. slots being open. I don't know if there's anybody else that can help. That's in the comment section. I see one or two drivers in the pits. If you're in the comment section and you can help, I don't know much about that. Shane, quickest man out on track, hasn't cracked the 29, but look at these shortcuts. Goodness me, that's some impressive stuff. And apparently this blue stuff doesn't feel so good, so he has no further use for those tires apparently. It's quite a innovative thing they did here in France with the colours. I don't know why the track has insane colours on the side of it. It's not because it's the colours of the French flag. In fact, those blue markers, or the blue lines, they're rough and they will slow you down. And the red ones, well, you don't want to spend too much time on those red ones. They can take a lot of life out of your tires. Top 8 have already set lap times. This man has not. We ride with Dan Ritveldt in the Haas. See what he does. Goes over the line. It's a good lap time, 130.9. He's up into P4. Shane, fastest man out on track, 130.3. That was his attempt. Levy also out on circuit. Arno Goos out on circuit. Nick Gishen. That man, 132.9 for the second of the two Mercedes. This is Afrodoc. This is Arno Goos. Too many leagues. Goes up into provisional pole. Second man of the night to the 29s. Look at that. It's quite the gap. 4/10 of a second. We haven't seen a 29 yet from the Ferrari driver, from Shane. We'll see if he's got it in him. Might just be holding it until Q3. It's definitely a lap time good enough for the top 10, so I don't think he's got too much to worry about in that department. We've got three drivers yet to set lap times, and now that's become two drivers. This is Levy over the line, good enough for P9, 131.2. He's gonna have to find a little bit more than that. He's gonna have to find a little bit more than that. It will obviously be fine for Q2. So far the drivers at risk: Kubus on a 132.1, Patman 32.9, and this man here shouldn't be at risk for much longer. It's on an outlap. Very quick, and unless he makes a real hash of things, he'll be in the top 10 in no time. If he goes things his way, probably be in P1. But Arno Goos is the quickest man, 29.8. That time was slower than the time we saw in Q1, so these cars still got a lot more in them. The last thing you want to do is overdrive or rush your car, then you're definitely not going through. This is Nick Gishen. This is the end of his outlap. He's going to start his first run now. He's gone a little bit out of sync with everybody else, but what that means is he's got the track all to himself. You can look at that track layout on the right hand side and you can see he's not going to run into anybody. The next car on track is at the end of sector 3, so he has no worries of traffic. He can get on with this. I think he's only going to have to do the one run if he gets this lap right. Of course, invalidated laps are very possible around here. Just the three cars out on track. One of them is Nick Gishen, the other is Shane. Shane currently P2, looking for his first 129 of the evening. Third car out on track is Patman. He's on an outlap, knows he's at risk. Currently in P12, but that's as a result of this man here not setting a timed lap just yet, but he's about to. Let's ride on board with him in the little twisty bit at the end of things. Such an important part of the racetrack. This so easy to lose your entire lap time in these slow corners. Nick Gishin, 129.6, almost matching that lap time he set in Q1. Now where is Shane? Remember now Shane being pushed down to P3. 130.3, he's looking for an improvement. No, he doesn't. He's coming into the pits. Was no improvement. Didn't see a point in staying out there, and here's another car taking a shortcut. It's something unique here at the circuit Paul Ricard. In fact, what would be interesting around the circuit Paul Ricard is having one of those no flags races. Because whoever finds the quickest routes around here, well, can actually get quite creative. Nick Gishin is on his way back to the pits, and he'll be happy with that lap time. Where is Patman? As a result of Nick setting that lap time, means Patman is now the last of the timed cars. Wonder if he's just struggling with the circuit, struggling with setup, or if that was just a lap that didn't go his way. Boinkies retires from the session, as does Arno Gers, as does Shane. Nobody's seeing the point in taking further risk. We're not going to be seeing anybody voluntarily retiring early in Q3. Batman still looking for that lap. 32.9 is his best. It's good enough for P13. And folks, as you can see, I've had a bit of an issue. I don't know what happened there. If anybody listening is able to send me an invite, something has gone horribly wrong. Just let me know in the comment section if the stream is still upright. It's just the game decided to crash on me. I don't know what happened there. I've never seen that. That's a first, and hopefully a last. Let's try and get back into this as quickly as possible. Obviously, the advantage of DRS is if something like this happens in qualifying, I've got time to get back in. Those short qualies can really catch you out. Hopefully we should be back live any moment. Hopefully this works. Bear with me. There we go, we're back. And luckily, we haven't missed any of Q3. We're back just in time for the end of Q2. Some drivers still out on track. See, now we've lost track of who's on an out lap, who's on a fast lap. See, no need to look at the tyre screen at this point. And Assassin obviously on his way to the pits, taking a shortcut with it. Dan Rietveld P7, who are the cars at risk? Cars at risk, Lebby, one of the Aston Martins in P11, and both McLarens, Rota and Patman, are at risk. Currently P12 and 13. Remember, we're going to lose 3 cars. Patman is officially out of the session. Checkered flag has fallen for him. Checkered flag will fall for Lebby any moment. Can he get it into the top 10? Yes, he does. Up into P4, leaving it late and very impressive. Almost joining the 129 club. As for the other driver at the back, that was the McLaren. Checkered flag has fallen for his teammate, 132.9. He's going to be eliminated, as is Ariamondi, 131.2, because he's retired from the session, so no possible improvement there. Rota, sort of lap is he on? Is this a quick lap? Appears to be so. Can he get himself up into the top 10? Yes, he does. Up into P5 means one McLaren will go through. One Williams will go through. Boinky's actually just edging out his teammate. Dan Rietveld turns to the pits, and I think everybody else is either in the pits or they've taken the checkered flag. The session will come to an end shortly, and then we'll head on to Q3. It's going to be just the 10 drivers, the final shootout for who starts where, and more importantly, who starts at the front. This is just Lebby on his way back to the pits. Everybody on their way back to the pits. We're actually just waiting for either everybody to get back to the pits and retire, or the timing screen to tick down, and there we go. Timer screen it is. There we go, just to go through those results really quickly. Nick Gishin leading the way again, went 29.6, then 29.8, very impressive. Arno Coast P2. They're followed by Dan Rietveld, Lebby, Rota, Shane, Zero to Cool, Namassassin, Quibus, and Boinkies. Those are the top 10. They'll go through to Q3. The 3 unlucky drivers taking no further part: Zubair, Ariamondi, and Patman. And we're back for Q3, the shortest of the 3 sessions, just 12 minutes. Doesn't give you a lot of time to hang around in the pits. I think we're going to see a busy track in a few moments. There we go, we see some Ferrari mechanics already moving. That's the first signs of movement in the pit lane, unless something's happening up the road. Looks like a Haas has gotten away already. It's Dan Rietveld again. Seems to be in the habit of wanting to be the first car out of the box. And because Haas is so down in the Constructors' Championship, it means they're right at the end of the pit lane. If you hit those buttons quick, you're always going to be the first car out. We have 7 cars on outlaps, just the 3 remaining in the pits. Those 3, Nick Gishin, Lebby and Boinkies. Quibus getting awfully close to the two Red Bulls. So important on this outlap to manage this outlap. Make sure you have space ahead of you, behind you. Make sure no one's going to run into you, or that you're not going to run into anybody. So many times you can get into a situation where two cars are simply too close on a fast lap. And it turns into a situation where is this a qualifying session, or are you trying to race me? So got to make sure you've got your responsible gaps. You're responsible for your own lap on that outlap. If you don't want to get impeded, make sure you don't go over the start finish line on someone's gearbox. It shouldn't be a circuit where we see too much of that as a problem. It's a pretty large race circuit, just over 5 kilometers. Tend to see a lot of that in Monza. The cars can really just bunch up in qualifying. And sometimes the entire field lands up getting impeded. We have an entire final run and no one improves. This is Arno Goos. No lap times as of yet. But now everyone with the exception of Boinky is out on track, so 9 cars out on track, busy racetrack. Of course, when you do have a full grid, Q3 can be quite qualifying, can be quite challenging rather for that traffic situation. Can imagine having 20 drivers out on circuit all trying to find space on the racetrack to go as quickly as possible. You're bound to run into someone, or at least get distracted. Zero to cool, first man over the line, sets a 130.2, it's a good benchmark. I think the next man over the line, who will be the next man over the line? I think it will be Dan Rietveld. Let's ride on board with the horse. He doesn't have much longer to go on this lap. He's in sector 3. Thought there'd be no point at looking at the tyres, but Levy on an outlap on a set of mediums. Not quite sure why. But Dan Rietveld up into P3, 130.5, then Rota 130.31.0. Goes into P4, Namassassin inserts himself into P4, pushes the McLaren down a spot into P5. Arno Goos, the quick, ooh, that could have ended quite badly. One driver taking the chicane awfully slowly, the other driver taking a shortcut. The FIA would not look kindly upon you, sir. Quibus in P6, Nick Gishin, I say P6, but that's just the timing sheet. He hasn't set a lap time. Nick Gishin's about to set a lap time, is he? No, he's not. That was the end of an outlap. Or he invalidated it, because those tyres do have a lap on them, but he doesn't have a lap time, so I think he may have invalidated that run. Just 5 drivers have set laps so far. Those 5 drivers: Arno Goos, Zero to Cool, Dan Rietveld, Namassassin and Rota, in that order. Then we still await lap times from Quibus. As I say that, Quibus goes up into P3. Haven't seen a lap time from Nick Gishin. Seen him be very quick in Q1, in Q2. And surely there will be no difference in Q3. Shane down the order in P9. Boinky's also down the order. In P10, both of those drivers are yet to set lap times. They've both been out on track, but obviously something went wrong in those laps. Didn't want to stay out and do a second run. Came in, got a fresh set of rubber, but they haven't re-emerged from the pits as of yet. They sit in the pits with no lap times. Nick Gishin, the other driver, without a lap time, and as I say that, he goes up into provisional pole. And is that the quickest lap of the evening? I believe it is. Yes, it is. It's a 29.5. And he's doing a few shortcuts of his own. Well, sir, there's just no excuse for it. Paul Ricard has 7 layouts, and that is not one of them. At least if he was taking one of these other chicanes, trying out the different layouts, but that one is not FIA approved at all. In fact, when I qualify here in France, I do exactly the same thing. In fact, I've retired doing just that. Trying to get back to the pits to set one more lap time. Started doing exactly that and just got too close to a barrier, and that was the end of quali. I was desperate to get out of Q1, and I ended up ensuring I was out of Q1. Nick Gishin, I was about to say he is out on track, but not any longer. You can see he's in the pit entry. 2 cars out on track, out laps. 0 to cool, looking to improve, currently P3. Wants to get himself into the 129s. Has to get himself into the 129s if he wants to take pole position away from that man there, Nick Gishin. Arno Goos, his teammate, now out on track. He set a 130.0 on his first run. This will be his second run. He's almost half a second down the road from his teammate. Let's see if he can get any closer. Shane remains in the pits. Boinky's now out on track. Boinky's on an outlap, as is Rota, Namasassin and Arno. Nobody on a quick lap for now. And a lot of cars sitting in the pits. 3 minutes remaining. The guys out on track now aren't going to have a second opportunity. And the guys in the pits are just leaving it very late. The only problem with going out of sequence is that you could find yourself in a situation that by the time you're doing your fast lap, you could run into a lot of these guys on their slowdown lap. And that's not the way you want your qualifying session to come to an end. Especially if you're improving, then suddenly you meet traffic. And that's how your qualifying session ends. This is Namasassin. He's done a 130.7. Currently in P6. Activates DRS. And has another go down the straight into the chicane. I'd love to see the F1 cars without the chicane. I just want to see what happens at that right-hander. It's already a fast right-hander. Just imagine if the chicane wasn't there. Of course, it is a grade 1 layout, including that straight, so if F1 wanted to remove the chicane, there'd be no issue with it. Boinky's time is ticking. He's on his quick lap. He's currently last and off the circuit. So that's not how he wants to end things. Shane just finishing off an outlap. He's about to start his final run. And it appears I'm having issues again, am I? Yes, I am. I'm having issues yet again. Apologize for this. I don't know what's happening this tonight. Last week it was the internet, but this week it's definitely not the internet. Everything running really well on the stream, but I've been disconnected from the game again. So if anybody can send me an invite. Maybe I can try use this one. Well, isn't that annoying? We wait in anticipation. Well, step 1 is complete now for step 2. There we go, let's just go to the right screen. I think we've made it back just in time. We're at the end of Q3. Nick Gishin, checkered flag hasn't fallen for him just yet. Does this mean he's on a run? Doesn't look like it, he's just gone wide. So that may be your final results. Checkered flag has fallen for Shane. He did get into the 129s at the end, and look how close it was. Difference between Nick Gishin and Shane, just 0.02 of a second, maybe slightly under. So everyone out on track, the checkered flag has fallen, and then the remainder of the cars in the pits, their session is over. Now we just await the timer, the official results, and then to get official business underway. While we're waiting for a timer, something we can just add is that there was a calendar update for season 10. As far as I understand it, the season was shortened. And I believe that is as a result of the new game coming out at the end of the month. Don't know how many guys would like to stick around and play on the old game. There are your official results for Q3. Nick Gishin taking pole position, 129.5. Then Shane in P2, just 0.02 of a second adrift. That's as close as you're going to get. Dan Redfeld and Levy take up the second row. They're followed by Zero to Pool, Arno, Rota, Nam Assassin, Curvis, and Boinkies, making up the top 10. Back in the familiar site of the pit lane. Drivers will be doing their final preparations for the race, deciding on things like fuel levels. Will they underfuel in anticipation of safety cars? What tyre will they start on? And then obviously there are a few small things you're still able to change under Parc Fermé. If you feel you may need some extra front wing, for example, that is something you can change. But for the most part, that car is pretty much locked down. And if you've chosen a setup you don't enjoy, you're stuck with it. 5 red lights. When they go out, we get underway. And it's Alpine versus Ferrari into turn 1, but the Ferrari has already tucked behind the Alpine, has he? Yeah, there's no challenge into turn 1 there, wanting to keep it clean. We know we've got a long race ahead of us. Do have a car that briefly leaves the circuit. This is a track you don't expect to see too many safety cars on. got to be very unfortunate to go off this circuit and hit a wall. It's got to be at some very specific parts of the circuit, because for the most part you should be able to go off this circuit and avoid the barriers. The circuit's very wide and a lot of tarmac runoff. I tell you, the circuit would be quite different if all of that was gravel. Nick Gishen leads the way, Shane P2, he's very close. His target will be to stay that close. If he doesn't get past in the next 3 laps, he wants to stay within this gap so that when DRS does become available, he'll be able to fully utilize it. But again, what can I say? This happened last week on a Thursday, hasn't happened since, but now it's happened again. What can I say? I can tell you is that I've been streaming all week and this hasn't happened since, well, it hasn't happened since last week. See if I can try and use this invite again. I do apologize to all the viewers. Don't want things like this to happen, but seems like this lobby doesn't want me in it. Let's try again. And we go back to the right screen, and hopefully for the final time. Luckily I do have that one invite and I just keep on reusing it. Nick Gishen leads the way when we rejoin the race. Shane in P2. Shane setting the fastest lap of the race, but it doesn't mean much because Arno Host sets the fastest lap of the race. All of these cars going very quickly, all of them very close together. Hopefully things can hold together for the stream, for the remainder of the stream. I don't know what that was all about. But if you do suddenly see a lot of cars leaving the lobby, well, that's your reason. Rota in P9, he's the first of the 2 McLarens. The second McLaren all the way down in P13 means nobody was able to squeeze into the lobby. Since the beginning of qualifying, we started with 13. We've started the race with 13. Hopefully we'll end the race with 13. Like I said, if there are tracks where a safety car is a slightly less common occurrence, this would be one of them. Lots of runoff, lots of time to catch any sort of a mistake. Of course, there are parts of the circuit that if you go off, you're not going to get a second chance. Shane leads from Nick Gishen. Those 2 cars have now switched positions. 0.5 of a second is the gap. It's lap 3. That means it's DRS time. Actually, DRS came on in the last lap, but now Nick is going to have his opportunity with it. Shane had an opportunity with DRS. Now the positions have changed. I think we saw a race between these 2 last season that was extremely close. They basically started P1, P2, finished P1, P2, and by the time they finished that race, they crossed the line covered by 0.07 of a second. So if we're going to get a repeat performance from the Alpine and the Ferrari, we're up for an exciting race. And if we keep on getting kicked out of the lobby, it'll be exciting with a hint of annoying. Nam Assassin, if you haven't noticed, has retired from the race, and that means we're under safety car. I was just saying a safety car is not a common occurrence here in France. And the game decided, don't you predict what's going to happen in this game. You can never predict what's going to happen in this game. Shane will lead under the safety car. What will the different drivers do now under safety car? We'll bring up the tyre screen just to have a bit of an idea of who's doing what. Seems like a majority of the field has gone for the medium compound, so we're not going to be seeing people coming into the pits, I don't think. And as I say that, got some hard runners coming into the pits, some medium runners coming into the pits. So making some very big changes to their strategy. Medium runners and hard runners would have been looking to go deep into the race. They've decided to utilize the pit stop, get a new set of tyres. Nobody's selecting the softs. Boinkies, he was the only driver on softs. He's come into the pits to get rid of them. And he's going to get rid of that wing as well. He had damage. That's what an early safety car is useful for. You haven't had a first good stint to the race, if you've managed to pick up damage, if you've managed to fall far behind your opponent, safety car just gives you that opportunity to come back. And if you're behind the safety car for a few laps, you can either just settle your mind and get ready to go again. But sometimes what happens is you just a little, you fall asleep a little, and at that restart, get caught out really badly. Shane will lead that restart, and Nick Gishin is probably going to be the one that needs to be the most alert in that field. Needs to keep an eye on the Scarlet Red Ferrari. Doesn't want that car to get the jump on him. I've seen occasions where the lead driver gets to turn 1 with a 1.5 second advantage because he caught the driver in P2 napping. Nick Gishin's experienced driver, done many laps in many races. I doubt he's going to make that sort of mistake, because in most of those races he has spent time in the front. I'm sure he's got a lot of experience with safety car restarts. If it was me though, I'd say best wishes to the field behind me. Hopefully I wouldn't take out the field in turn 1. We're still under safety car. We head into turn 1, and as we do head into turn 1, it's just Dave Williams that was just lagging at the back there. That was Boinkies. Remember, he came into the pits, changed that front wing. He has now joined the field at turn 1, so I'm pretty certain at the end of this lap we'll get a notification confirming safety car in this lap. Then we can get back underway, and hopefully the Ferrari and the Alpine can continue their battle. Both of those cars started on the medium. Both of those cars chose not to pit. So nobody's there out of sequence. In fact, nobody in the top 5, top 6 is out of sequence. They've all stayed out on track. They've all held on to track position. As for the next 6 drivers in the field, they all utilized a pit stop in that safety car, so they've all got fresh tires. Interestingly enough, all mediums and hards. If you know in the comment section, if you're a driver, if you're spend quite a bit of time here in France, let me know what can we expect lifespan wise out of a hard compound tire. Some of the guys starting on the soft and then jumping onto the hard very early on in the race. I would be quite surprised if the hard tire can do 20 plus laps. It would have to be what, 21, something like that. But if you know better in the comment section, let me know, because obviously I haven't done much practice around France in quite some time. Wouldn't be able to tell you the tire life of a set of hards. The safety car has disappeared into the distance, and soon he's going to find the pit entry. At that time, Shane takes control of the race. He becomes the temporary safety car, and all of these drivers have to wait for him to say go. And now he says go. Good start. Said you don't want to be caught napping. He has found a bit of a gap into turn 1, 7/10 of a second, and that's been pretty much the biggest gap we've seen between these two. And unfortunately, oh no, we'll try again. It's quite difficult to build up in commentary when this happens every 5 minutes, but we're going to keep trying tonight. As long as I still have viewers, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to try and bring you as much footage as I can. There are obviously problems, and if this is anything to go by, it won't be the last time. But I'm going to keep trying so that you can have a at least a good idea of what happened in the race. I do apologize to the viewers. I see a few people are leaving now. It is disappointing, but this time it's not the internet connection. I'm looking at the internet connection, everything looks fantastic. But on the game side of things, all sorts of problems. And we're back. And well, somebody's going to have to explain that to me, and somebody's going to have to explain that to all of you, because we didn't get to see it. We got kicked from the lobby once again. But if I remember correctly, we had just had a safety car restart. We got kicked from the lobby. We returned pretty quickly, but we've returned to a safety car. So something happened in that very short period of time. Nam Assassin was the car that activated the first safety car. It seems since then we've lost another 2 drivers. Maybe a collision between the 2, both retiring. Maybe 2 separate incidents, we don't know at this time. But we're up to 3 retirements here in round 2. And we're under our second safety car. Those were your results from round 1. And it's done it again, folks. It's done it again. Have I been disconnected again? Yes, I have. This can be quite frustrating. Should be back any moment now. I don't know why this lobby doesn't want to keep me in it. I apologize to everyone who's still watching. There are still, well, a couple of you. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for being patient. Fortunately, we're still under safety car. I'm just a little bit concerned because I'm seeing things on my screen that are not quite normal. I actually see some text just shaking. There we go. Where it says spectator mode, the text is shaking. That's quite strange. Not good signs for the further stability of this lobby, but of this stream at least. But hopefully everything can hold together for as long as possible. Every time I start getting a little excited, start getting a little ramped up, start getting a little into the commentary, suddenly I see all the cars ghost, and I know what that means. A lot of jumping around. Sometimes it even appears like a lot of lag issue, but it's not. It's just the cars weaving around. That's what you're going to do on the safety car. That's your only opportunity to try and keep some tire temperature in those tires, some brake temperature. Make sure you're not a sitting duck into turn one. What you can do is bring up your tire situation, have people come into the pits. Doesn't it feel like they have? Nick Gishin. Ooh, that is interesting. Shane stayed out on track on the 8-lap old mediums that he started the race on. Nick Gishin, who was in P2 at the time, made the decision to pit for hards. And obviously Shane was in the lead at the time, wasn't able to react to that. Let's just have another look at that Ferrari. Here we go. It's just the wing is black in color. For a second it looked like there was no wing on the leader's car, but all is good. Shane leads the way, but now the race has changed so much. Remember, the two leaders were on exactly the same strategy, but now let's go back to Nick Gishin. He's going to be looking to come through this field. He's got a brand new set of hard tyres, and I believe that is a set of hard tyres that should comfortably go to the end of the race. So he may be in P9 now, but a lot of those cars ahead of him are going to have to make pit stops. And the more ground he can make here, the better for him. The more positions he can make, the better for him. Levy picks up a 3-second time penalty, a thing we haven't mentioned. Saw it in the corner of the screen, but didn't mention it at the time. Seems like Nick Gishin picked up a penalty. It's a 5-second penalty, so that's related to his pit stop. Must have been a speeding in the pit lane situation. And that'll be something that annoys him just a little. Rolls the dice, tries something different with the strategy, then adds 5 seconds to his name. And if he does in fact want to take those tyres to the end, then that time will be added to his race time. If he does pit again, he's going to spend an extra 5 seconds in his pit stop. Shane leads the way, but remember, he's on the medium compound, and they're aging tyres. They're the tyres he started the race on. He's going to have to pit 1 second ahead. Crucially, broken DRS from Dan Redfeld. Arno Ghost in P3, keeping Dan Redfeld honest. Ariel Mondi also in that DRS train. We've got a very long DRS train. DRS train for P2 all the way down to P7. Batman, the first one, not in that DRS train. He's in P8. He's followed by Lebby very closely, and then making up the field, Boinky's just not having a fantastic race, having an up and down race. Was he one of the cars that came into the pits? Yes, he did. Got 6-lap old hard tyres. How much further into the race will Shane go? Problem with all these safety cars. If you're in the front now, want to come in for your pit stop, you'll be looking at those times behind you. You'll know there isn't large gaps between these drivers. And when you do come into pit, you're not going to lose 1 or 2 positions. You could lose the entire field. Lots of action out on track, lots of wheel to wheel. Very close stuff. Boinkies still at the rear of the field, looking to catch up, and seems like there's a lot of battling out on circuit. He should be able to catch up, as some of these drivers will trip over themselves. DRS is enabled, and hopefully now we can get some racing. Already had 2 safety cars early on in the race. I think I jinxed it by saying this is a racetrack where you don't get a lot of safety cars. Don't ever say that in a stream. Terrible idea. It's always fun to have a safety car at the end, just to mix things up. With multiple safety cars, it can get annoying. We've got a caution out on track, and luckily it goes away as quickly as it popped up. So we can get on with things. That's exactly what Shane is doing. He's getting on with things. He knows he's on a set of mediums. He needs to pit. He needs to make this gap as large as he possibly can, so he doesn't lose too many positions in that pit stop. If he were to pit now, he would come out in P9, only followed by Levy, who's currently in last place, and P10. If you guys remember correctly, last week there were just 10 drivers finishing that race. Let's just have a look. Where are the results for last week? There are your results for last week. As you can see, just 10 drivers finishing the race, and tonight could well be a repeat of that, unless we see any more retirements. We are at just under halfway distance. Hopefully we don't continue at this retirement rate, otherwise we'd be finishing with 7 drivers. If I'm not mistaken, the 1993 Grand Prix in South Africa, 7 drivers finished that race from the 26 that started. Reliability back then was somewhat different. And since South Africa was round 1, well, that's where we got the most breakdowns. Shane leads 1.6 seconds, so he increased that gap pretty quickly, but then the gap just stabilized. Not growing it much more at this stage. The man behind him, Dan Ritveld's on exactly the same tyres, exactly the same age. Though we see cars going wide, but then they're suddenly back on track, so they're not going wide. Levy, no longer in last place. That now goes to Arno Goos. He's gone in to get a brand new set of hard tyres. Shane decides to stay out there. Dan Ritveld has also now abandoned the medium tyres. He's come into the pits. Let's see what he goes on to. He's going on to a set of hards. So he's abandoned the medium tyres. The only driver out on track to have the same set of tyres that he started on is the leader. 13 laps. Levy 132.1, fastest lap of the race, and that's for the driver down in P9. That'll be because he's also the only driver out on the soft tyre. Those are brand new softs. Is it possible to take it to the end? The other possibility is he could know he's at the rear of the field. Might as well put on a set of softs, go as far as he can. Put on a set of softs, go as far as he can. And then, in the event of another safety car, he can obviously just put on another set of softs and finish the race that way. As you can see, we're having another issue. Hopefully we'll be able to get back in the lobby pretty quickly. I apologize for all these breaks. There's nothing I can do about it. Hopefully F124 will come and save us. Will come and save us all from what you see on your screens. I've got to say, this one invite, this thing has been overworked tonight. So far, it's doing a great job. Lots of fun in France. Trying to not get confused by all the blue lines. And then I've still got to deal with this. We'll go back to our normal camera. It's now lap 15 of 27. We're just over halfway distance. Shane still leads the race at this point, so I'm assuming he has not stopped. Let's have a look at the tyre screen. There we go, he hasn't. He's still the only man out on track that has the tyres that he started on. Wonder if he's looking to take these mediums as late as he possibly can and then maybe finish the race on the softs. That seems to be the plan there for the Scarlet Ferrari. It would be an interesting situation because all the drivers behind him, the hard tyres may seem fine right now, but by the end of the race they're going to be aging hard tyres. We'd love to see that battle continue, but again, I don't know what to do. Like I said, so long as I have viewers, I'll keep on trying, I'll keep on going back in. I've apologized a few times, but I have to apologize again. It's so frustrating. There's nothing I can do different. Never felt so rejected by a lobby. Well, if I was driving in this race and getting disconnected at this rate, I can tell you I would have given up a very long time ago. Since I see, 6 viewers, we'll keep trying. Come back to the race. Nick Gishen leads the way. That's because Shane has just left the pits. At least left his pit box. He's on his way to the pit lane exit. Let's see how that pit stop is going to affect him. He's all the way down in P6. I don't think he's emerged from the pits just yet. Where is Dan Rickfeld? I don't think he's going to be close enough to challenge the Ferrari. No, he isn't. So Shane re-emerges in P6. Let's bring that tyre screen back up. Every time I get disconnected, I've got to remember to bring up the stats. My prediction there was correct. He was taking those mediums as long as possible. Now he's slapped on a set of softs and he's going to be hoping to finish the race on those set of softs. We have a penalty. It goes to Patman, the man in last place. But obviously, regardless of how many penalties he has, if he finishes in that position, he'll be able to pick up a point tonight. So So every finishing position tonight is well worth it. Nobody will be finishing outside of the points, and if you do retire, you're literally throwing away points for every driver left in this field. You can see on the left the majority of the drivers are on hard tyres. Everyone there in the top 5 on aging hards. Then the next best driver would be Shane in P6, 4 seconds adrift from that top 5. But when he does catch up to that top 5, I think he's going to make headway. He's going to make some overtakes. 5-second penalty. That's speeding in the pit lane. That's for Mondi, is it? Yes, it is. It's Mondi. He gets a 5-second penalty late in the race. Probably not going to make another pit stop. That'll be added on to his race time. So that'll be something he is going to be cursing if he finds himself in a close battle at the end of the race. No matter how good the battle will be, he's going to be the one who loses it. Patman up into P9 as Mondi comes out of the pits. Remember, 3 retirements. We started with $13 drivers. We're now down to 10. If you've just left and come back, Apmagozi, Shane is down in P5, but he's on a very different strategy. Him and Nick Gishin, they were on identical strategies. We had multiple safety cars. I believe it was under the second safety car. Nick Gishin came in, put on a set of hards. Those are the hards you see on his car right now. Shane chose to stay out, stretch the mediums over 2 safety cars, and now he's going to be able to finish on the soft. So he's in 3rd position, but he's got a serious tyre advantage. Remember, those tyres will fall off first, so he's got to make the most of them now in these opening laps, because he won't have this pace throughout until the end of the race. Boinkies, he wasn't having a fantastic race earlier on, even found himself in last place, but now all the way up into P4. A podium still possible. He's got a few drivers ahead of him with penalties, and if those penalties rack up any further, could bring Boinkies right onto the podium, because he's been able to keep his penalties column empty. We should have looked at the penalties column earlier. Will you have a look at that? Nick Gishin, 5-second penalty. That'll be added on at the end of the race. Shane, 8 seconds worth of penalties, so that's a pit stop penalty and a corner cutting penalty. Levy, 3 seconds. We have 3 seconds for Patman, 5 seconds for Mondi, and the highest goes to Zubair on 9 seconds. Said penalties would be a thing on this circuit, but as things stand, Shane is in 3rd, trying to make up ground. But Boinkies could steal that 3rd place away if this gap grows no further. Nick Gishin, 10 seconds out front. 2 very different strategies. Obviously, Nick Gishin, he came into the pits, put on that set of hards. They were behind the safety car, and because at the time Nick Gishin was in P2, he made that choice, and Shane had no way of responding to it because he was ahead of him. If Shane had made the choice, Nick Gishin could have responded to it. So because the driver in P2 decided to do something different, we've got a very split race. We've seen how close those drivers can be over a race distance when they have the same strategy. But today, the safety car intervened and caused those 2 drivers to have a split. Strategy, and now they find themselves on very different parts of the race circuit. Shane is about 11 seconds behind the leader. He may have soft tyres, but I don't think they're going to be enough Plus he's got those penalties next to his name. Arno Goes, P6. Zubair has picked up another penalty. Remember, we just mentioned he had 9 seconds. He's picked up another 3 seconds, so he's up to 12. Not doing himself any favors. He's actually having a relatively good race in P7. Problem with those penalties is he may find himself in P10 when it's all done. Nick Gishin leads. Quibus now finds himself in P2, but he's 10 seconds adrift from the leader. Nick's all out at the front by himself. Ferrari now catching up to the Aston Martin, getting close. Shane now looking for P2, wants to put those soft tyres in clean air. Have a go at Nick. Nick's got 12 lap old tyres, 12 lap old hards. Not the oldest tyres on the circuit. That award goes to Quibus. 16 lap old hards. And as you can see, those hards starting to show. But Shane gets past without too much effort. And now we'll try and keep our eyes on that 10-second gap, see if it comes down. In the meantime, we'll have a look at what's happening elsewhere on circuit. We have Zubair on the back of Arno Goes. Arno Goes, no penalties next to his name. Not the best camera angle there, Codemasters, but thanks for trying. Zubair, P7. Ariamondi 5 seconds down the road. Zubair going for the position, is he? Not quite sure. Zubair has got ahead, has he? Yes, he's in 6th place. So he's having a fantastic race. It's just those penalties. We'll be looking at those penalties and we'll be wondering why. That gap at the front, 9.5 seconds. So remember, the gap was 10 seconds. It's come down by just half a second. We've got 5 laps to go, and surely not. It's actually gone back up to 10, and that means an average of 2 seconds a lap, and then you still have to make an overtake. And as I say that, has Nick made an error? I think Nick may have made some sort of an error, because the gap suddenly jumped down from 10.3 to 7.2. May have left the track and just maybe slowed down to avoid a penalty. Maybe already on 2 warnings. I'm not sure what happened there, but he lost a chunk of time, 3 seconds. Yeah, I've had issues tonight at Magosi. Similar to a race we did last week on the channel. Not sure if it was DRS. Stream 3 in a week, 4 in a week, but we definitely had a race last week that had very similar characteristics. I've literally been kicked from the lobby about 5 times. And there we go, you're watching and you get an example of it. So basically I've been getting that all night. Getting kicked from the lobby, basically going out, rejoining the lobby. So something is definitely wrong. And I think that's also why you're seeing a few cars jumping around on circuits, because something's not quite right. As far as my stream goes, the internet's running exactly how it should. So I think this is definitely something on the side of the game. Like I said, as long as we have viewers, we're going to keep trying. I don't believe there's a saying that goes 6th time lucky, but why not give it a go? Yeah, was he saying, yeah, the stream is strong? Yeah, the stream on my side, it's going at over 100 megs, so shouldn't be a problem. But obviously F123 making sure to torment us all right till the very end. And there we go. Are we back? Everything just disappeared. Yes, we're back. There we go. Fantastic. So Magosi, this can be quite challenging. Hasn't been the most fun stream, and I just feel like every time I get into a bit of a rhythm, there goes the lobby. And then we have to come back and figure out what's going on. Luckily it's a pretty quick turnaround time. So Nick Ishin still leads the race. We saw that gap come down to 7.2 seconds very quickly. But since then we've been out of the lobby and we've been back at 7.4 seconds. So that gap has stabilized. Quibus getting a little closer to Shane. Dan Redfeld P4, Zubair P5, Arno Goos P6. We've got Levy, Ariamondi, Patman and Boinkies making up the top 10. And remember, we only have 10 drivers in this race. DRS starting a bit of a trend. We had 10 drivers finishing round 1. And if all goes well, we'll have 10 drivers finishing round 2. 3 laps to go in the race, so we are officially in the safety car safe zone. We're not going to get any more safety cars. Safety car needs at least 3 laps to come out. So if we do have any more incidents, they're just going to magically disappear off your screen. Drivers have been tormented by enough safety cars as it is. It seems like every time there's a safety car, there's no way I'm staying in the lobby. I get kicked from every safety car. Just want to bring the penalty screen back, because I think that penalty screen is going to become quite relevant in a few laps from now. Look at that, Nick Gishin, your leader, 5 seconds, Shane P2, 8 seconds, Dan Ritwell P4, 3 seconds, Super, probably the worst one off, definitely the worst one off, P5, 12 seconds, then Levy, P7, 6 seconds, Ariamondi, 8 seconds in P8, and then Patman. He's up into P9. He's not in last place anymore, but if that penalty and that time doesn't change, he will be back in P10. Lots of penalties on your screen. I said it would be a thing in qualifying. Such a wide circuit, so much tarmac on the outside. Sometimes you get tempted to use too much of it. Magosi, I'm not quite sure what Magosi is saying, that Shane is 8 seconds ahead. Well, that's definitely not what we see on our screens, and I don't know what to say. Seems like we're out of sync with the lobby. I'm not sure what's going on. We've obviously rejoined multiple times. We've reset the game. I'm not sure what more I can do. We streamed on Sunday night. It was a successful stream. Did it again on Monday and Wednesday. Didn't have any issues. But tonight, just having all sorts of issues. Thought we at least got things covered just before the end of the race. Now Magosi potentially telling me that what we see on screen is not what's happening in the race. And if that's the case, I apologize to everybody, but I may have just commentated on our very first fictional race. Let's have a look at the penalties again. Shane, 8 seconds worth of penalties. Nick Gishin, 5 seconds worth of penalties. If Shane didn't have those penalties next to his name, he'd take victory in the race. That's why I say, got to try and keep that penalties column clean, and if you do pick up a penalty, try not pick up more than the 3 seconds. Really comes back to bite. While the lobby hasn't been much fun tonight, at least we've reached lap 27 of 27, and hopefully we can get to the end of this race in one last burst. Don't want to have to rejoin just to read out your results. F123 giving me a fright. Thought the lobby was completely messed up. He was referring to the penalties. Ah yes. Nick Gishin leads the way. Gap now 5.8 seconds. But because Shane has 3 seconds extra in the penalties column, it would mean he'd have to get past Nick Gishin and build up a 3-second gap. So the only way he can do that is for Nick Gishin to go completely off-road. Can't believe it's happened at this point of the race, really. Just a few corners to go. Been disconnected once again. I'll try one more time just so we could try and read out the results. But yeah, it's been quite a fun one. Nothing I can do about the interruptions, but at least I have come back in each and every time. I've tried to keep you guys as updated as possible. Let's see if we can just get back in time to read the results, or if the lobby is over. Yeah, because he's not having fun. I think it's probably 8 times. The first time it happened was in Q2, and then all the other times were in the race. Well, as you can see, that's the end of that. Or is it? Yep, session ending. So I'm not going to be able to go back in and read your final results. Goodness me, what a night it's been. I see we still have a handful of people watching. Throughout all our technical difficulties and all the dramas of tonight's stream, I am really grateful to each and every one of you who stayed on in the stream and watched anyway. But there are going to be worse nights, there are going to be better nights, and tonight was one of those worst nights. I hope you guys enjoyed what you were able to watch, and think of it as it wasn't quite a live broadcast. Think of it as your first ever DRS highlights package. I think, yeah, you can think of it as a highlights package because it had that many breaks in it. Again, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for everybody who stayed on, and of course we'll be back on Sunday night with SKR, followed by Monday and Wednesday with SAFRL, and then next week Thursday back for DRS round 3 season 10. Until then, I'll see you all at Magozi in the comment section. Don't be too rough on my driving on Friday night. Cheers guys.
Card is broken! It's broken! Can't, it's broken! It's broken!